A stadium full of flags, presidents smiling on a stage, fireworks exploding over a brand new arena. On television, this looks like national glory. Inside the finance ministry of that same country, the very same moment looks like a bill nobody quite knows how to pay. Because before the lights went up, before the first whistle was blown, that country had committed tens of billions of dollars of public money to host a tournament that, by almost every honest measurement, will not pay it back in cash. Qatar is widely reported to have spent over $200 billion on the infrastructure tied to its tournament and its wider national modernization plan, not just on stadiums. Russia in 2018 is estimated at around $14 billion. Brazil in 2014, somewhere around $15 billion, depending on what you count. South Africa in 2010, roughly $5 billion. And every single time the next World Cup comes up for bidding, multiple countries and coalitions fight each other for the right to spend numbers like those on a single sporting event that lasts about 30 days. From the outside, that makes no sense, unless you understand the very specific kind of math that the brochures and the press conferences never quite explain. Because hosting a World Cup for a country is not really a sporting event. It is the most expensive 30-day commercial money has ever bought. And today, we are going to break down exactly what it costs, what almost nobody talks about, and who quietly walks away with the money at the end of it. Let us start with the part that is easy to count, the money that leaves the host country. Hosting begins long before the first match is played. To even be considered, a country has to mount a full bidding campaign, and that alone can run into the tens of millions of dollars. There are lobbyists to hire, glossy presentations to produce, delegations flown around the world, and a long list of standards from FIFA that the country must legally promise it can meet. Then, if the bid is won, the real spending begins, and it dwarfs the campaign by orders of magnitude. The host has to build or upgrade stadiums to FIFA's exact specifications. It has to expand airports, build new hotels, lay new roads, upgrade trains, modernize broadcast infrastructure, and put together a security operation that often looks more like a small war than a sporting event. And these are not small projects. Russia is estimated to have spent reportedly around $14 billion in 2018. Brazil, in 2014, also reported in the range of $15 billion. South Africa, around $5 billion. Germany, with its quietly successful 2006 tournament, kept things modest at roughly $2 billion. And then Qatar. The Qatari spend in 2022 is widely reported north of $200 billion, although that figure is almost certainly counting an entire decade of national modernization, including new cities, new metro lines, and infrastructure that would have been built anyway. Even when you strip it back, the stadium and tournament-specific spend in Qatar still ran into the tens of billions, making it by a wide margin the most expensive sporting event in human history. And here is the brutal detail underneath all of it. Most of that money does not actually stay in the host country. It walks out almost immediately, back to international construction giants who do the building, to specialist consultants who design the systems, to security contractors flown in from abroad, and to FIFA itself in the form of fees, guarantees, and required services. The cash starts inside the host's treasury, and a huge slice of it leaves the country before the first ball is even kicked. Now, let us turn to the part that is supposed to make all of that spending worth it, the revenue. And this is where the story gets very strange, because most people assume that when a country hosts a World Cup, that country gets the money from ticket sales, the global broadcast deals, and the giant sponsorships. That is not how this works at all. FIFA controls the most valuable pieces of the event. The global broadcast rights, worth billions of dollars per cycle, flow to FIFA. The top tier of sponsorship deals, also worth billions, flow to FIFA. The bulk of ticket revenue, after FIFA's hospitality partner takes its very large share, flows to FIFA. The host country, in a sense, is providing the stage, paying for the stage, and then watching most of the box office be carried out of the building. What the host actually keeps directly is much smaller and much more boring. There is some additional tourism during the tournament itself, with visitors paying for hotels, food, and souvenirs. There is some additional tax revenue collected on those activities. There is some merchandise sold inside the host's borders. But several independent economic studies of recent World Cups have arrived at a strikingly consistent conclusion. When you add up all the direct money the host country actually receives and compare it to the tens of billions it spent, the host loses, on paper, by a wide margin. Brazil's direct revenue, by most estimates, was only a fraction of its cost. Russia's, similarly far below its spending. Qatar's tournament is in its own category, but even there, no honest accounting brings the direct ticket and tourism revenue anywhere near the build-out. So if the financial math is this bad, why does any country, year after year, fight to host? The answer is the entire reason this video exists. The return on hosting a World Cup was never supposed to land on a balance sheet at all. It lands somewhere else entirely, and the people deciding to host know exactly where they are looking. There are 4 things they are actually buying with those tens of billions, and none of them shows up in a normal income statement. The first is global attention. For an entire month, every major broadcast in the world repeats the name of the host city, shows the host's skyline, and treats the host as the center of the planet's attention. A single 30-second commercial in the final alone goes for millions. The host turns the entire month-long tournament into one continuous, scripted advertisement, paid for by FIFA's broadcast partners, and impossible to buy at any other moment in any other format. The second thing they are buying is reputation laundering, what critics now openly call sportswashing. When a country has a difficult international reputation, the World Cup gives it a chance to reset the global narrative. Critics get drowned out. Cameras showing the host's clean, modern, friendly side become the dominant image of the country for months. Whatever was being said before, the story is now about football. Qatar is the textbook recent example. The reported labor conditions of the migrant workers who built the stadiums became, for many international viewers, simply less visible the moment the matches started. That is exactly the trade the country was making. The third thing being bought is domestic political capital. A leader who delivers a successful World Cup gets a national pride boost that very often translates into approval ratings, votes, and political longevity. Whatever else is going wrong in the country, the leader who brought the world to their doorstep becomes, for a moment, untouchable. And the fourth return is more concrete and harder to argue with: infrastructure. The stadiums themselves often become so-called white elephants, but the things built around them, the airports, the metro lines, the highways, the telecom upgrades, those tend to stay, and in some cases pay off quietly for decades. About those white elephants, this is the part of the story that almost nobody shows you after the trophy is lifted. Picture a brand new 90,000-seat stadium dropped into the middle of the Amazon for 4 matches. The world's cameras arrive, the fireworks go off, the match is played, and then everyone leaves. 3 years later, the same building is still there, sitting in heat and humidity. The grass keeps growing, the lights still cost money to switch on, the maintenance bill never stops, and nobody is buying tickets to fill 90,000 seats in a city that does not have a top-flight football club. This is not a hypothetical. It is the actual story of stadiums in Manaus, in Cape Town, in several Russian cities, in cities across South Africa, and it will almost certainly be the story of several Qatari venues built for a population of less than 3 million people. This is the part of the bill that nobody is putting in the celebration video. The 30 days of glory are paid for once. The empty stadiums are paid for forever. So once you put those 4 hidden returns together with the white elephant cost, the actual math starts to make a different kind of sense. The host country was never trying to make money from the tournament. It was buying a marketing event no other purchase on earth can replicate, a reputation boost no PR firm can deliver, a political moment no campaign can manufacture, and a slug of infrastructure that may quietly pay off for decades. The losses on paper are not exactly losses. They are the price of admission to something else entirely. And that price is paid every time by the taxpayer. But the visible benefits are collected by a much smaller group of beneficiaries. The politicians collect the prestige and the votes. FIFA collects its broadcast and sponsorship billions. International construction giants collect the contracts. Hospitality partners collect the tens of thousands of dollars per VIP seat. And the workers who actually built the stadiums, in several recent cases, paid a price that almost nobody at the trophy ceremony was prepared to discuss on television. Which brings us, finally, to 2026. This tournament is unusual enough to deserve its own short section. For the first time in modern history, 3 countries are sharing the host job: the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And for the first time in a long time, the financial math may actually work in the host's favor. Because between the 3 countries, almost every stadium already exists. The airports, the hotels, the security capacity, the broadcast infrastructure, all of it was built up over decades for other major events and other sports. The new construction required is comparatively small. Total host spending across the 3 countries is reportedly closer to $10 billion, a fraction of Qatar's bill. If the projected revenue holds, this could become the rare case where the direct financial math actually adds up, with the soft power benefits as pure upside. In other words, 2026 may be the first World Cup in a long time where countries hosted without quietly losing their own public's money. That by itself tells you how distorted the modern hosting economy had become. So here is the takeaway. The next time a country celebrates winning the right to host a World Cup, remember what you are really watching. You are watching a government commit tens of billions of dollars of public money to buy a month of curated, global, emotionally charged attention. You are watching FIFA lock in another cycle of broadcast and sponsorship billions, almost all of which leaves the host before the trophy is lifted. You are watching construction giants, security firms, and consultants quietly book the contracts that turn into the visible spending. You are watching politicians make a calculated bet that the soft power return will outlast the questions about how the public money was spent. And you are watching, in many cases, the planting of a future white elephant whose maintenance bill will be paid long after the players have retired. Hosting a World Cup is not really a sporting decision. It is one of the largest, strangest, and most revealing business decisions any government can make. And whether it is worth it depends entirely on what you are quietly trying to buy. So here is my question for you. Watching the next tournament, knowing all of this, do you still see a celebration of football? Or do you see a 30-day, $200 billion commercial? Tell me in the comments. And if you want to see how this same hidden economics shapes who gets the best seat inside that very stadium, watch how a World Cup final treats you at every level of wealth next. Because once you can see the money under the game, you start seeing it everywhere. So keep looking.